we're talking about the different styles that we can use as managers, we can use as individuals in addressing conflict. That's what we'll be looking at. Now, one thing I want you to know is that you will find a lot of these styles are arising from things that we discussed yesterday, the orientations. If you remember yesterday, I spoke a lot about our mindset, our orientations, how we approach when we are going to resolve conflict, how we approach it. Are we looking at conflict as something evil? Are we looking at conflict? Are we going into the resolution of conflict with a mentality that I must win, it has to be my way? Do we go to this do we go to the table to resolve conflicts with the mentality that the other person does not matter? What the kind of mindset that we have as individuals means a lot in the kind of style that we adopt. We're also going to see that the best way is always to look at what is the situation. What is the situation? Use the styles depending on the situation. So let's look at these different styles that we can use. So Thomas and Killman came up with these 5 conflict management styles. Okay. So we have 1, avoiding, accommodating. Number 2, compromising, competing, and collaboration. I want to throw this question to you because we discussed the orientations yesterday. They're quite related to this. I just want to hear from somebody in avoiding. What do we understand with avoiding? Anything from what you picked in our conversations yesterday? Avoiding, avoiding, avoiding. Let me hear from anyone. When talk about avoiding in conflict management, what comes into your mind? Generally.
Grace, let me try that. Huh?
Please do.
Yeah, avoiding, I would say, is trying to bury your head in the sand and not wanting to really see the issue at hand. So kind of you really don't want to address the real issue, hence and trying to bring other things into play and missing out on the real issue that is bringing in the conflict. Yeah, I would say that.
Okay, thank you. Let me hear from someone else. Anyone else? When you talk about avoiding, what comes into your mind? I like that.
Maybe.
Alice, yeah.
Maybe it's like being indifferent.
Indifferent.
Yeah. You are indifferent.
Yeah. You don't care so much about this conflict.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. One more person on avoiding. I can see we did get it yesterday. Someone else on avoiding? Anyone else? Okay. As we're saying, avoiding, there's a conflict. Okay. There is a disagreement. We said yesterday, conflict is disagreements that are either expressed verbally or non-verbally. So there's a conflict. Let me pass to somebody here in the chat who says, avoiding is burying your head. This is Michael Njoroge, in the sand and shying away from facing conflict. Yes. Okay. So there's a conflict. Some people will just, for whatever situation. Others, maybe it could be fear. Like there was this question that kept coming up yesterday on a junior and the boss. And the junior, and we're asking, how does the junior approach the boss, particularly if the boss is not the kind of a boss who entertains disagreements? How should the junior behave? So you might find in cases where the junior feels, every time I try to bring up my issues, every time I try to, to debate on this or say that I'm not okay with this, my boss does not take it very well. So what do I do in future? I'll just pretend that I don't care. Move on. Okay, look at the issue and say, I will let it be. So when you're talking avoiding, just you've also said it's burying your head in the sand. Yes, the problem is up there. To bury your head in the sand and say, let them solve it, or let it solve itself. Okay, let it solve itself. Let's see how it goes. Okay, let's just see how wording comes in. Okay, postponing conflict, ignoring, changing the subject. Yeah, changing the subject. So we are discussing this issue about our employees. Remember Johnny and Rosie yesterday. So Johnny is saying, I don't like the fact that you talk to my employees directly and give them responsibility. And Rosie just looked at it and probably changes the topic and says, can you talk about something else? And so that issue is really never resolved. Okay, burying our heads in the sand. What are the disadvantages? Number one, you're saying missed opportunity to clarify the issue. Yeah, this is very key in avoiding. What have we done? Remember what we said. Sometimes when we resolve, we said conflict is not necessarily bad. Could be good. And so if we don't resolve this conflict, if we avoid it, if we ignore it, if we change the subject and go to something else, we have really missed the opportunity to do what? To resolve this problem, it could make things better. Maybe the reason why Rose and John are conflicting is because, as we said, their job descriptions are not very clear. If they were clear, they would not be conflicting. So the conflict helps us realize something is wrong. Maybe the job descriptions of the employees in this organization is not, not well done, we need to redo it. But because we've ignored what we do, we'll miss the opportunity to make that better. Okay, I want to pick the last one, so the pushover label. If you're the kind of a person who is always avoiding conflict, people look at you and think you're a coward. You know, you don't want to face issues. You're just the kind of person, whenever there's a conflict, you walk away. Okay, and you get that pushover label. Let's look at this other accommodating. Oh, before you look at accommodating, I'll ask a question. This avoiding. Avoiding. When do we use avoiding? When would it be? Let me put it this way. When would it be right? Okay. In which circumstance or in which situation do you think it would be okay to use avoiding? We've seen what it is, we've seen the disadvantages, but in what circumstances would it be fine to say, let's use avoiding? Let's just think around that. Which circumstances would it be fine to avoid conflict? Anyone? Today I have many questions, so I hope you took your breakfast very well. In which situation will you want to use avoiding? Let me hear. When would it be right? That's a question. Yeah. Yes, Mary?
If I think that the person who I'm engaging, maybe a boss or someone, is unreasonable, because sometimes we understand the people that we are dealing with, and this is someone who is not willing to understand my point of view. I would rather avoid, because it will conflict in one way or another. Yes.
So the person you're dealing with is unreasonable, probably has very poor communication skills. When you begin talking to them, they're those ones who shout, they become emotional. And so you realize at this particular point, I would rather just withdraw.
Yeah.
You may hear from someone else. That's correct. Sometimes if you feel that the person I'm dealing with, really, this conversation won't go anywhere, it might be important initially to just let it be and probably look for another way to deal with it. For some people, remember we said conflict can be very emotional and some people become very emotional. But that doesn't mean that we should not resolve this conflict. Yes, we may avoid it, but we must find another way, even if it's using the third party that we were looking at yesterday. But not ignore completely. Don't, because what you said, you might miss the opportunity to actually resolve this. Let's see on the chat. The chat we have, someone says, avoiding, okay, it's burying your head. Okay, I think we've looked at that. not willing, avoiding just postpones the conflict. I think that was on the disadvantage. So Njoroge says, go subordinate situation and you feel that the boss is baiting you into a conflict and the consequences are too high to take. Okay, particularly the point where he says when you feel that is the boss actually pushing you into the conflict, so that probably this can escalate into something else, particularly bosses who are not happy with your achievements. Okay, I think we discussed that yesterday. We said some bosses are really not happy with your achievement. So yes, at that point, if you really read this environment, you read it and you realize here, what this person is doing is really throwing me into a conflict. So yes, we could avoid. Yeah. Anyone else who wants to try on avoiding?
Yeah, Grace.
Yes. Yeah.
When you're dealing with a conflict that the two parties, like the temperatures are so high. Maybe you're trying to avoid and give room for like the temperatures to come down so that you can have a meaningful engagement.
Yes.
And also maybe if you're seeing that this conflict has no basis in your investigations and that kind of thing, you try to avoid and just try to figure out how to approach it. Yeah.
Yes. Actually, you said 2 points in one. You said when the temperatures are high. Yeah. Yes. And you realize that even you on your side, the temperatures don't have to be high on the other person's side. Even you, sometimes you really heated up. This whatever is on the table is too much, and so you want to avoid, because even you want to take time, drink some cold water and cool down before you can bring anything on the table. Yes. And two, you've said sometimes when you actually feel like whatever it is that we are discussing, whatever is the disagreement is not major. It's not a huge. It doesn't really stop us from achieving our objectives. Okay, so those are different situations when we can use avoiding. So yes, as much as it has disadvantages, we are not saying that is a style that cannot be used. You just need to determine what is the situation, what the context. Use it in the right context, but don't take it to be this is it. Every time there's a conflict, walk away. Now that will make us miss that opportunity we are saying of getting the advantages or the good things that you can get from conflict. Accommodating. I want to hear someone tell me, accommodating, what do you think? Just one person. What do you think accommodating is? Just even from the word accommodating. Anyone, what do you think, what is accommodating from conflict management perspective? I want to hear one person accommodating. Anyone?
Grace, let me try that. Huh?
Yes, Alicia.
My understanding of accommodating is giving room for each party to bring out or to express their feelings or whatever the conflict is. Yeah, just not having sides or taking sides, but allowing the two parties to say what they are feeling, and you yourself being ready to listen to them. Yeah.
No, yes, if you're the one, assuming it's me and you in a dispute, which is Grace and Alice in this dispute, and Alice decides to accommodate, because it's not that party, it's just the two of us. You say Alice has said that she's going to use the accommodating style. In that case, what exactly would be accommodating?
I would think it is giving in. For the sake of peace, maybe you just don't fight back.
Yeah. There's someone else who was saying something. I think there's someone else who was talking. Alice has said is giving in. Yeah. Someone says accommodating is accepting to live with the conflict and not letting it bother you. Michael, that might be avoiding. Yeah, accommodating is accepting to live with a conflict. That might be more of accommodating. When both parties into a conflict are given a chance to participate in the conflict resolution, when both parties. both parties. Now let me throw in something. Let me throw in the spanner into this. Let's look at accommodating and compromising. Okay, let's look at the two. Compromising, we have accommodating. The next one is compromising. We are not done with accommodating, but I'm throwing in compromising just to see how do they differ. What would be compromising?
I think
I
compromise.
want us to look at the two of them. Yeah. Yeah.
Compromising might be you give and take.
Give and take. So A gives and B takes. B gives and A takes. Give and take. Yeah. So the reason I'm throwing in compromising is because I don't want us to confuse accommodating and compromising. They're actually sometimes very confusing. Yeah.
It's like you reach a middle ground.
For compromising. Yes. Someone says allowing the other party to win. Yes, that is what accommodating is. Okay. Accommodating, a Chiro on the chart says allowing the other party to win. That is accommodating. Accommodating is really you let the other party, you know, you're not avoiding, you actually do face, you come into, you face them, you face the issue, you face it. But somehow you accommodate the other persons. Let's take the example of Rosie and John. Okay, remember Rosie and John yesterday? Rosie wants to directly give roles to this team, and John thinks it is not right. If John was to accommodate, he would say, okay, fine, let you be the one to allocate all the roles. Okay. If Rose was to accommodate, Rose would say, okay, John, from now onwards, you have it your way. Even if she thinks, even if her idea or her view is that somehow, even her as the operations manager, she should be able to, and it makes sense for her also to be able to give maybe some responsibilities to the team. So accommodating is when you allow the other. It's really a win-lose situation, but you're the one who loses. It's a win-lose. One person, the one who accommodates is one who loses, and they allows the other one to win. Compromising on the other side is meeting. You know, we meet at the middle. We compromise. You give, I give. John says, okay, fine, you want it this way, but I also want it this way. So let's see how. What do we do? Maybe for some of these issues, you can come through me, but some of the other issues you can, you know, directly talk to the team. Compromising a 50-50. No one wins, no one loses. These two are normally very confusing, but we can get it from that way. So when can we use accommodating? 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 Anyone who wants to try? Accommodating? When, in which situations can we use accommodating? I want to hear from anyone. When can we accommodate? Okay, let's see what we have here on accommodation. We see surrender one's own needs and wishes to accommodate the other. Okay, yeah, that's what we've said. Some of the disadvantages is that, again, just like the avoiding, you really become, you might get that coward label, you know, because you're just letting other people have their way. That's what we're talking about, you know, the doormat thing, yeah. And then it increases power differential. What you're saying is that you see the other person who wins, assuming that you often use this method, you're always allowing people, you know, the other person, you're always accommodating, then it creates that power. The other person seems to have more power over you. That's what you're saying. These are major disadvantages. But when do we use it? When you find you're wrong, you need to allow a better position to be had. Okay? Yeah, sometimes you might feel to say, looking into this matter, maybe your way of thinking wasn't really correct, or you're not very clear on what was your view. So you could accommodate the other person's view, even as you take time to really put yourself into the right mind to see which is the best way to look at this issue. And that's what I'm saying, to learn and to show your reasonableness. Yeah, you see, if you're really feeling, you could have a view. I don't know whether sometimes you've ever gone to a discussion table or you are in a brainstorming a situation with your either group. You have an idea, but it's not yet well developed in your mind. So sometimes you may accommodate other people's ideas as you take your time to really develop your idea, so that when you share it, it's easier for people to understand. You're also saying to minimize loss when outmatched and losing. Interesting, yeah? But when you really feel this discussion, I am not winning it. I don't have facts. Okay, I don't have facts for this conversation, for this conflict. Okay. And then of course you're saying to allow employees to develop by learning from mistakes. Okay. Allowing you allow employees, you accommodate. Sometimes you accommodate people's views, give them a chance to participate in maybe a decision making. It may not end up very well, that's what I'm saying here, but people then will learn from whatever mistakes they have made. Okay, I want us to look at compromising, look at when do we use compromising? Compromising is when goals are important, but not worth the effort or the potential disruption. Okay, we're also saying when opponents with equal power are committed to mutually exclusive goals. I want us to look at that. Remember, in compromising, you said you give, it's a give and take. I give and I give. We meet at the middle. Okay? Yeah. So we're saying when you're feeling that these two parties that are in conflict, they have mutually exclusive goals. Yeah. So it's okay. I can allow you to get yours, win, and allow me to win, so that each one of us can achieve our own goals. Okay? Yeah. So each one of us can achieve our own goals, okay? And also, see, compromising, sometimes we use it when you see this to achieve temporary settlements to complex issues. We don't have time. When you don't have so much time, sometimes to really keep arguing and debating. So sometimes you may say, okay, for now, you get this, win up to this extent, and let me win up to this. Let's implement this as you continue looking for more permanent solutions. Somebody on the chat said something. A good example where compromising is used in CBA. Oh yes, in CBA negotiations, I like that example. In the collective bargaining agreements between employees and employers, it's always give and take. Yeah, it is always like give and take. The employees will, if I may just continue with this example, the employees will go into the negotiation table and they will have so much that they want, but they don't always go home with what they wanted. Sometimes the employer comes to the negotiation table with nothing to give. They always say there's no salary. We cannot increase your salary now. But by the end of the negotiation, each one of them will have given something. So the employee maybe wanted 50% increment. By the end of the day, they might go home with a 10% increment, but the employer who may have come into the table with nothing, may have come and say, we are not increasing. We have no money to increase your salaries. Might give in and say, you see, they came with a zero. So they're not increasing, but you may give the 10%. The employees might come in with a 50%, we want 50% increment. They'll go with that. So somehow there's a win-win. Okay, nobody really gets what they wanted, 100%, but they don't go home without something. Okay, let's now look at the other competing and collaboration. I want just from where we are. If you look at the number four style is competing. Are we there? Competing. Let me just hear from one person. One person. What is competing? What do you understand? Let me hear from one person. Today, I really wanted to participate. I wanted to work with me. Competing? Competing? Somebody? Just try. Anyone?
Chris, I think
could try.
Yeah, Susan, yes, Susan.
Yeah, I think competing would mean both of us, the two of us who are conflicting, that none of us wants to back down. We all want to win this particular conflict, or rather, like I want to be the right one. So if it's not me, it is the highway. Yeah, I'm not ready to. Yes, I'm not ready to take a lose for this. Yeah.
Yes, competing. We come with a very competitive mentality, you know, the orientation we were talking about yesterday. The mindset is, I must win. Okay. Yeah, I must win. The employees come to that CBA, that collective bargaining table, and they're saying, we must get our 50%. If we don't get it, we are done. We go, we withdraw our services. We are not, we're not compromising. We are not giving up. We're not avoiding this. We are not accommodating. We must win. Okay. Yeah. So competing brings in a lot of antagonism that we're talking about yesterday. It can be very antagonistic because you've come with a mentality that I must win. So somehow you don't give a chance to the other person. You don't give the chance to the other person to even bring on the table their arguments, because for you it's a must compete. But this style might sound like it's a really bad style, but it's not always bad. There are situations where using competition as a conflict management style is okay. There are times when it is right. There are times when it is okay to use this style. When do you think it's okay to use competing? When do you think it's right? It's a very dominant. It's dominant. There's a lot of dominance in competition, in this competing style. You're coming there, one, I must win. It is a win-lose. I win and the other party loses. Okay, sounds really negative. But because of situations, it is not always, not necessarily a bad style of conflict management. When do you think we can use this competing style? Anyone, when do you think it's right to use a competing style? Let me hear from one person. Somebody? When, just try. When do you think it's right to use the competing style? Let me see on the chat if somebody has said something. Does not consider view of others, but choose to achieve a certain objective. Okay. Okay. Competing. Now, one of the best times to use competing style is when we really don't have time. We don't have time, and whatever it is whatever issue that is on the table is really important. Okay, it's very important, but there is no time to bring people, to bring the ideas of the debates and the disputes. Time is not on our side, but the issue on the table is so important. You know, like those firefighting moments, you know, when you are managing issues and it is critical. So as a leader, you really don't have the time you can't have time for democracy, because then it will take so much time and that time is not there. So then competing conflict management style becomes okay. It's necessary because we don't really have the time to collaborate or to bring people in to start thinking and bring in their views. That time, then competing can be a very good style to use because of the time aspect. And time, not just time, but time also. And what is the issue? What is the issue on the table? Okay, how important is that issue? Okay, but what are the disadvantages? Let's look at the disadvantages of competing. People see the person as aggressive. Yes, this person, this domineering person who says this is the way to go, doesn't give democracy a chance, doesn't give people an opportunity to view their different views. Okay, the dictatorial approach, again, it increases the power differentials. It leads us to the them and us. Them, those who are able to, those who win and those who lose. So that power difference in terms of the domineering person, of course, will have more power than the other person who has lost. And then lastly is the collaborative style. Collaboration is really I listen. It's not a give and take, okay? But it's what is the best solution? We sit together. These disagreeing parties sit together and together work quietly, slowly into finding a solution to the problem. First, they must both agree that there is a problem. There has to be that agreement. I don't even remember when we were looking at the steps of conflicts, and we're talking about in the very beginning, people even are in denial that there's a conflict. So in collaboration, you even begin by agreeing that yes, there is a conflict. Being able to analyze that conflict together and saying, okay, so this is the conflict, this is the cause of the conflict, these are the alternative solutions that we have, and picking the best solution. Very good. Why is it good? It is good because it actually solves a problem. It goes to the root cause of a problem. It is not just solving the problem from the top, but you go to the root cause of the problem and you solve the problem from the root cause. So with collaborative style, we really are able to really solve a problem. But as good as it sounds, it also has its own disadvantages. Okay, it really has its own disadvantages, particularly because it is a very time consuming. It is a very time consuming process. I mean, you have to agree to sit, talk, agree, disagree, maybe even call it for that day, say, let's go home and continue thinking and meet another day. So it can be time consuming. So it is only good, and we use it when you have enough time. When you have enough time to really keep discussing this issue and looking for the best solution for it. But it is the best style because we actually solve the problem, not the symptoms of the problem. We solve the problem behind that. Okay, so these are the styles we have discussed, and looking at them, are they assertive, cooperative, and assertive? Assertive means, there is, you actually are active in doing what you're doing, in solving this issue. There's activeness, okay, not aggressiveness. You're active in doing it, but you're doing it in the right way. So we're saying that competing and collaborating are assertive, okay? There is action that actually takes place between these two people. Collaborative and accommodating are cooperative, okay? You accommodate. There is some sort of agreeing to disagree until there's a solution to it. Though accommodating, we said, is when you're actually letting the other person. But you've seen why. We've seen when we actually use accommodating. And then avoiding and accommodating can be very unassertive, particularly avoiding. You're just saying, let it be. You don't want to be active in solving this issue. And then competing and avoiding are very uncooperative. There are two extreme ends. Competing is a lot of domineering, and avoiding is simply burying your head into the. They are both uncooperative, and although they are on two different ends, they are uncooperative on two different ends. One by domineering and the other one by avoiding. These are the management styles. I really want you to keep remembering these styles because today a lot of our discussion will keep bringing us back to these styles. So keep them at the back of your mind because we will really keep seeing them. Now, based on that, now we've seen the different styles. Now, those different styles, when we use them, we become this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 kind of people. Okay, we either become a turtle, a shark, a teddy bear, a fox, or an owl. Now, what does a turtle do? You know a turtle? What does it do? What is the main characteristic or feature of a turtle?
It gets into its shell anytime it faces the difficulty.
Yes, you walk around a turtle, it hides inside the shell. Okay, so in relation to the styles we just discussed, what do we say about a turtle? What can we say? Just one word. In relation to this, avoiding. Yes, it withdraws. It avoids, isn't it? Whenever, even you just pass by, I don't know, somehow it just gets it back into it. Or whenever it senses danger, it hides. A very good image of what we're talking when you talk about avoiding. Whenever there is a disagreement, or when you realize this is getting somewhere into a disagreement, to get back into the shell, you withdraw. Yeah. So these people we look at them as attacking. The shark. Shark. What do we know about the shark? What is a feature of sharks? One word. When I say shark, what comes into your mind? When I say shark, what comes into your mind?
Competing.
Yeah? Eating.
Competing.
Sorry?
Competing.
Oh. Mary?
Fear.
Fear. Okay. Yeah. Fear. Yeah. The shark brings fear because when you hear about the shark, you see it opening its big mouth and it has no time to really think about, it has no mercy. Okay, yeah, somebody has raised, Njoroge, you want to say something? Michael Njoroge, yes?
A shark doesn't back down.
The shark
Doesn't back down.
does not back down, isn't it? Yeah, it brings fear, it doesn't back down. It's not one to give up, by the way. When the shark comes, I don't even know what to do. If you are in the water and the shark comes, you must be a very good swimmer, or you just say your last prayers, because it's not going to go back. Okay, so in relation to the management, the styles that we discussed, the conflict management styles, someone says does not consider view of others, but used to achieve a certain objective, likes to hide. Okay, what the shark in relation to the management styles? One word.
Competing.
Competing, isn't it? Remember, competing, we say domineering. This is a person who comes with the mentality of win and lose. Me, I win, you lose. Like the shark comes, it does not care whether it's a child or an old woman or a young, it just sees, when it sees this human being, it sees meat. Okay, so the shark creature is a good explanation of the competing style. The teddy bear, you know teddy bear, yeah? Men may not really relate very well with the teddy bear, but I'm sure the ladies can. We love teddy bears, we love these dolls, but the men, not really so much. So we might need to explain to them a bit. Teddy bear? Teddy bear? You know a teddy bear?
Yeah, so the characteristic is soft.
It's soft?
It's associated with hugs, you know, care, accommodative.
Yes. Yeah. A teddy bear is really nice. Even when you hold it, it's really comforting, isn't it? It has this comforting feel around it. Yeah. Yeah. And someone says accommodating. Yes. So when you look at it against the management, the conflict management styles, then you talk about accommodative. Yeah, it's accommodative. Okay. The fox. What do you know about a fox? Fox is a fisi in Kiswahili. Yeah, is it? No, it's not fisi. I don't know. It's the wild dog, I think. What do you know about a fox generally? Fox? Yeah?
Very cunning.
Very cunning. What else? Cunning, yeah. Eunice is cunning also. Yeah. So the fox, cunning. So to let you win for now, it will tell you, okay, have a bit of that. So the compromising you're talking about, compromising, we said it's a give and take. And give and take. And because you're saying the fox is cunning, it's probably giving and taking, hoping for something else in the future. It's not just giving and taking per se. It's not giving, it's not the end of that issue. It's giving and taking, knowing that somehow with what I take, there'll be something else that I'll gain from this. Okay, so I don't want you to lose because there's something I want to gain, but you are not really resolve the problem. The issue is still there. The all, what do you know about the all? It's a very scary bird, Doesn't look very nice, yeah. It's a very scary bird in itself. So we're saying it's, I think because of the feature, what we have about it, and it makes a lot of noise if it somehow patches somewhere around your house. Okay, so this one we're talking about, it has this confronting. It also doesn't really give up. It's something that will come for what it wants also. And it comes to your house, it doesn't leave easily. Okay, it just comes and patches there and stays there. Okay, so that's what we're talking about, the confronting. So what you're saying is that these five kind of people really arise from the orientation we discussed. Okay, again, the kind of people we are and how we manage conflict is really based on our mindset, on how we look at conflicts. Okay, and that's what is also what determines the kind of style that you pick. Okay, good. Thank you for your participation. Okay, so this we have discussed. Now, let's look at this. Okay, this image here shows the spectrum of the intensity of conflict. In terms of, it's a spectrum, so it has two ends. Yeah, look at the two ends. Low, down there we are saying no conflict. Remember we said we cannot have a situation where there is no conflict. Conflict is natural. But we're saying in a spectrum, you're saying from 0, assuming that it was like from 0 to 100, okay? Where there's no conflicts and when there is really, really bad conflict, really strong conflict. What do you see? What are the characteristics? What kind of an environment will you be living in? So when there's, let's say when there's very little conflict happening in the organization, or the conflict is not so major to that extent, so maybe say between 0 and 100%, what kind of an environment do we have? Okay, so we have very, really strong conflict. The intensity is in terms of the degree, the strength of the conflict. That's what you're saying, the annihilatory conflict. Really strong, destructive kind of conflict. This is conflict that can destroy, okay? Not just the other party. Remember we said yesterday, really, if conflict is not managed in the organization and becomes too intense, it can even destroy an organization. It will destroy the organization, it will destroy the group, the team, and it will even destroy the personal relationships, okay? So, and at the bottom here, we're saying sometimes conflict can just be minor disagreements or misunderstanding that we deal with. Then, those are minor. That is really, let me say, use the word little conflict, okay? And the other side is really large, huge conflict, okay? Then we move up, could be minor disagreements. Moving up, we have overt questioning or challenging of others. As conflict is increasing in its intensity, we move from just having minor disagreement to getting to a point where we are now, we begin to ask, okay, we begin to ask questions and challenging others. Why are you doing this? Then if it is still not controlled, it moves, the intensity increases to assertive verbal attack. Now, this is where people can say things. And I said yesterday, sometimes these things can even be personal. You might find people beginning to insult each other on personal basis. They actually stop being professional. Now you're not talking about, some people even go to body shaming, okay, moving completely from the professional aspect. Then this goes, as the conflict intensity intensifies, you're moving up, goes to the threats and ultimatums. I'm going to fire you, you're going to go. Others will even tell you, I will kill you, okay? Really, it's intensifying. Aggressive physical attacks, people can actually fight. And you said, lastly, we completely destroy each other. If conflict is not managed, this is what you say, the intensity increases, okay? And that's the reason why I think if you've noted in this course, I keep saying we must, someone says, okay, this is about the folks, okay? Somebody, I keep saying that it is important to manage conflicts, not just when it has happened, even before, to avoid this continuum of conflict, where conflict begins as something so small, and because it is well managed, it increases to something that can really destroy people in the organization. That's why strategic conflict management becomes very important. All the things we are studying become important to avoid us moving from this no conflict level to conflict that is really destructive. Yeah, where you find people even, threatening to kill each other, people leaving the organization, people not talking to each other in the organization, and ultimately completely destroying even an organization. So to avoid that, this strategic conflict management becomes key. I keep saying that, I keep saying it over and over again. So now let's quietly look, let's together look at what are some of the factors that could affect, okay, how we respond to conflict. Some of the factors, and I think we can put gender there, but let's see, let's just discuss a bit. What could affect our way of response towards conflict? I want to hear two people, just two factors that you think how they would affect how even you as an individual. What are some of the factors that may affect how you respond to conflict? Let me hear 2 or 3 people.
Okay, let me start.
Yeah. Yes.
I'll say maybe a relationship between the parties. The relationship.
The relationship. Explain a bit, just briefly.
Okay, probably maybe you can have a conflict with someone you don't really like. So that one may heighten maybe the conflict. And if maybe someone who maybe you have good rapport, or you have good terms, maybe it can be minimal. Maybe the dispute might be sorted at an early stage.
Why don't you like this person in the first place? Because that could
So
be another explanation of the conflict.
Probably maybe the ways of work, or maybe how you manage the roles, something like that, or maybe even personal. It can even be personal.
So there could be for you not to like the person, that could actually be the main reason of the conflict. But just speaking from what you're saying, in terms of the relationship you have with somebody, okay, I'm getting your points. How do we relate anyway on a normal basis, even when there is no conflict? How you relate? If it's somebody that you relate easily, I mean, you can easily tell. You know that people you can tell, I don't like what you're doing, and the person takes it positively. Take it like a constructive criticism. But there are people you don't even get there. You don't like what they're doing, but you don't even get to opening your mouth to tell them, I don't like what you're doing. Because in the first place, there's already commotion between the two of you. The climate between the two of you is very cold anyway. So I get your point, So the kind of relationship that we have with each other. Okay, yes, another factor. Yes, someone says differences in identities, personalities, backgrounds. Okay, backgrounds, I think I did mention that yesterday again, where we come from. Even our home, just within the home, if you grew up, or if somebody grew up just saying that the only way we solve conflicts in our home is by fighting. Trust me, even at the workplace, getting that out of our system can be very hard. If somebody grew up in a system where people fought even for food, okay, in their home, I mean, everything was competition. It's you eat everything, the other person will take care of themselves. You see such background. Someone talks about, I've seen somebody. Lydia, your hand is up. Lydia, let's hear from you.
Yeah, thank you. My take is about personality traits, different personality. Because sometimes you cannot relate well with a certain group of people, and maybe you cannot relate with a choleric or something like that, or both of them are the same. So you find sometimes if you're too similar, you tend to conflict.
If you're too similar.
People of the same.
Similar.
If you're the same character, if you're people if you're aggressive and they're aggressive, even there's no one goes down, so everyone is up there.
So both ends, then we talk about both ends. If you're too similar, and also if you're too different, what do you think? Also, if you're too different, it could also be the cause of this. It could affect how you solve. But I get your argument on two. Like if you find two domineering people, they both want to win. Really getting them to collaborate can be tricky, isn't it? Okay.
Especially like supervisors. You find two supervisors, all of them want to show their dominance. They want to be lead. They are up there to maybe to impress their boss or something like that.
Good. Anyone else? Someone else with something else around there? Factors, the factors?
Grace.
Yes.
Maybe what would also affect is the managerial styles that that would possess at that point.
Yes.
Would really determine how you're going to approach it. If you're using the dictator kind of leadership, it would take a different direction. If you are using maybe the servant leadership, that kind of thing, it would determine which direction and approach and how that conflict would really be handled, I think.
Yes. What is the management style? Remember also the management styles are situational, isn't it? So you're really basing them on what is really the situation. Like we said, in a situation where there isn't time to really be democratic, the managerial style will really be autocratic. And so if there's a conflict arising around that time, then the possibility of using also the competitive or the competition kind of style comes in. I get your point. Yeah, okay. Let's see somebody on the chat. I think he said something.
Yes.
Okay,
The communication, perception, sometimes what you imagine somebody is having at the back of their mind.
Sorry, there. Just say that again. Say that again, sorry.
Perception. I'm saying
Perceptions.
perception. Yeah, the attitude maybe, and okay,
Yes.
imagining what the other person is thinking, and then maybe that's what they are looking down upon me, or what is it they meant by that, or miscommunication, maybe issues to do with perception of what people mean by what they are doing. Yeah.
And perception is in the mind. Let me say, like we say, beauty is in the mind of the holder. Perception is also in the mind of the beholder, isn't it? It is a person perceiving. It's not necessarily the reality. Okay, it may not be the reality. So this person might think you don't like me. That's their perception. And so when they think you don't like me, even when they come to this conversation, this conflict, they already come with that mindset. This person does not even like me. This person does not respect me. This person looks down upon me. Then that affects how they will respond to the conflict. And these are the people who become really emotional. Okay, so let's look at others. Others. Thank you very much for that participation. So we have gender, male, female. Is it true that gender can affect how we respond to conflict? Do we respond to conflict differently, men and women?
Yes.
Yes, true. And mostly because of our upbringing. Yeah. What do we tell our boys? Boys should not cry, isn't it? We have that tendency. Okay, generally, we have a tendency, particularly the African culture. Men are supposed to be macho men. They're supposed to be, they shouldn't cry. And so that kind of upbringing, that kind of culture makes, it will make people have that domineering aspect, which can really affect how we respond to conflict. Women, on the other side, we are told to keep quiet, don't talk back, listen. Okay, so we tend we somehow trained to avoid the conflict. Yeah, okay, or maybe because of our culture. Okay, so gender will really be sometimes related to our socialization, okay, to our culture and how we are socialized. That is what affects the gender aspect, the gender response to conflict. What is the socialization? How are we socialized? Okay, another factor would be self-concept. Someone said this in terms of perception. What do you think about myself? Do I think I'm powerful? Do I think I am weak? If I think I'm powerful, I might respond to conflict differently because I feel it is me, I should win. I'm powerful, I'm great. But if I come to responding to conflict with the fear, okay, with the fear, I don't think I'm capable. I don't think my views are good. I don't think I have the best views even to talk. I don't even want to talk because I don't know whether I have something to offer. Then we might find ourselves avoiding. Or the other person, you always think the other person is better. Okay, and because we think they are better, what happens? The cost of concept, we allow them, we accommodate, we allow them to be, we allow them to have their way, because my concept of myself is that I don't have what they have. They have better mind, they have better ideas than me. Okay, yeah. Another factor would be expectations. What is our expectations when we are coming into this conflict? Where do we believe the other person or our team wants to resolve the conflict? If you feel that the other party is also willing to resolve this conflict, then you are encouraged to collaborate. But if you feel that the other party is not willing, sometimes you might feel, okay, fine, if it doesn't matter to them, why should it matter to me? Okay, so that our expectations, what is our expectations of the other people? The situation. I think this one we've discussed a lot. What is the situation and where are you? Where? Yeah. If you find yourself, for example, in a supermarket and you find an employee at the supermarket who doesn't treat you well, okay, how you handle, how you respond. And probably maybe you have asked them a question and they are very rude in their response and you're not happy. You feel they did not respond well. You will look around and see, is this a place where I want to begin shouting? Is this a place where I want to have this argument with this person? Is that the right place? Is that the right time? Okay, it could be at the workplace and there is a serious meeting, or it's during a there's something that the organization is dealing with. You know, sometimes we have had COVID-19 and you have had, or the other day, you have had so many issues within the organization, and organizations have really been on firefighting mode the last 3 years. So you actually have to check on what is the situation that is there, and therefore how do you resolve around that situation? Okay, I mean, how do you respond? There are times when, because of where you are, you want to avoid and come back and deal with the situation. Okay, the position, which is your position? You remember the story of the junior and the boss. Okay, what is your position? You might choose a certain situation because looking at the status. Okay, the status may really make you feel, let me accommodate. Okay, let me accommodate, because you can't push your boss. You can only talk to your boss assertively, but you can't push your boss. You can't push your way with your boss. So your position. Practice is really how good you are in managing conflict. If you've been managing conflict over and over, you have picked the knowledge and the skills we are talking here, and you have learned to use them so well, you can be able to use all these styles we are talking about in different situations. And sometimes in a certain situation, but in different ways. You know when to use avoidance, you know when to use competition, you know when to use based on how good you are in this conflict management. And then if you're able, this determining the best mode is really related to what we've talked about, the practice. Okay, if you really have mastered the art and the science of conflict management, you know how to choose which mode when. Okay, and then of course communication skills. How good are you in your communication skills? How well are you able to express yourself? If you can express yourself well, it becomes easier to deal. Some people use the avoidance type because communication is not easy. When they start communicating, they start crying. Okay, others don't know how to control themselves. The intonation, they start shouting. Others don't. There's some people when they get into a conflict, they get so angry, they can't talk anymore. So how well have you mastered your communication skills? Also influences how we respond to conflict. And we talked about this yesterday. We said communication skills are key in conflict management. Okay, our life experiences, I think I've said this before, our background, our culture, our experiences we've gone through really determine how, if you've really grown up in a place where people sit and discuss their conflict, then it becomes easy for you to be collaborative. But if you grew up in a situation where people know the only thing is fight your way, every disagreement is resolved by fighting, then it becomes very hard to collaborate. Okay. Now, so those are the different factors. I want us to look at this table. Are you seeing this table here? It's called Blake and Mouton's conflict grid. And this is what I want us to do. I want to give you 5 minutes, just 5. At your own individual, wherever you're seated. I want you to read through this before I say anything about it. I just want you to read through. Yeah, we have 1.9 there, 9.9, 5.5, 1.1, 9.1. I want you to read on your own for just 5 minutes. I'll give you exactly 5 minutes. And in those 5 minutes, I want to hear what comes into your mind from what you read. In connection to the management styles we have discussed, everything we discussed yesterday, I just want you to briefly be able to see by your own what is going on in this Blake and Mouton's conflict grid. How would you explain it? I'm giving you 5 minutes, and then you explain to me. So are we in understanding? Just read whatever you understand in 5 minutes. I want to hear what you understand by just reading through. In my class, every answer is correct. Okay, so don't fear to discuss. So just look through. When I come back after 5 minutes, just quickly tell me what you think is going on this grid. Okay, so 5 minutes. It is 10:04 by my watch, so I'll be back at 10:09 or 10:10. Okay, 10:10, I'll be back. I want to hear what you have to say. Okay, how are you? Are we still there? I hope you didn't disappear.
We are there.
You're there.
Yeah.
Okay, someone told me to check my audio settings. I had gone off so that I give you a chance to think. Oh, someone, sorry. Someone is asking, is it only my end that cannot hear? Yes, I had a 5 break. Yes, good, yes. We were not really on a break. I'd given you some assignment for 5 minutes. I wanted you to be on your own a bit so that you're able to really think through this Blake and Mouton's conflict. Let me hear what you came up with. Hello? Let me hear. Someone?
Hello?
Yes?
Hello?
Yes?
I think
Hello?
there is a linear relationship between concern for results and concern for people.
There's a linear relationship between linear, okay?
Yeah.
Concern for results and concern for people.
The higher the concern for results, the higher the concern for people, as you can see. If you were to plot that in a graph, you would see it. Organizations that have higher concern for results also have higher concern for the people.
At which point will that be, where we have a high concern for results and high concern for people?
If you look at the bullet, which is on the left, the last bullet, you see 9-9. So there is very high concern for results. And at the same time, there is very high concern for the people. Yeah.
And the 9-9, yes. He said the last bullet here, you see 9, and so high concern for people, high concern for results. Okay. Let me hear from someone else. Someone else? Hello? I gave you 5 minutes to go through this. On the chat, anyone?
Yeah.
Hello. Hello. Yes, Grace.
Yes.
Let me just
Daniel?
give my views. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah, I would want to maybe have a contrary opinion to my colleague who was just spoken without wanting to be controversial.
Yes.
I think the chat has no clear or conclusive conclusion that about the linear relationship. It's actually the other way around. It shows organizations that try to show concern for the welfare of the people in an attempt to meet them somewhere in the middle, at the same time not compromising on production, tend to have higher or rather higher value or higher outcome than all the other models that are listed. For example, it shows an image. It's not a direct linear conclusion per se. It's an image. It's an image it portrays. For example, when you look at the avoidance 1.1.
1.1.
Yes, it shows organizations that don't want to involve themselves in any conflict to solve anything, are more likely to not also to be concerned with the production, because if they don't want to solve issues that are affecting production suffers. If they don't want to solve issues also that affect people, the welfare of the people, the productivity also suffers. So I think it's a chart or a model that tries to give us a scenario for us to choose from. what would you want to, to adopt? Yes.
What is it that you want to adopt? Is a scenario, not a linear? I'm picking all that. I'm picking all your points. A linear is not a linear. Once it's a linear relationship. Sorry, can I request for just 1 minute? Just 1 minute. I sort out something. Just 1 minute.
Akirudi tu.
Sorry for that. Well, I had to take care of something that was a bit urgent. I think I've taken care of that. I'm so sorry about that. We were here, and I liked these two arguments that were coming up about the linear relationship, and the other one said, no, this is just an image that we should be able to borrow as leaders. I want to hear someone else's argument. Sorry for my walking out a bit. I hope I did not disrupt your thinking.
No, it's okay. I finished.
Okay.
Okay, sorry. Okay, yeah. Someone else is
okay. Okay, in my view,
yeah.
I take it as okay, it's an approach, or it's like a guideline. When maybe for if a manager is met with or you are facing the conflict, or you are supposed to maybe, okay, if they come, if oh my God, my words are going. Okay, if you're met with this conflict, so these are like a guideline of what the two factors that you should consider. So the two factors to consider is, one is the concern for the people, and also the other factor is on the production of results. So if you're met with a conflict, you have to weigh these two factors out. So if the concern of the people is low, and then the concern for the production results are low, so you have, as in it's a guidance on how or what approach to choose when you're sorting out some conflict. So if it's low and the both are low, you go to the avoidance. So you just try to avoid the conflict. So if the concern for the people is high and the production results are low, you just go to the coexistence. That is on the 1.9. That is the accommodative approach. So I think it's just about it's the guideline on the I'll say the percentages. I think you just look at the percentage also, or the extent of the conflict. Just consider the two factors, and then it can guide you on which may be the best way to approach the conflict.
So it's an approach that will guide us as managers in determining how we can solve the conflicts at hand. Okay, let me hear from someone else.
Yeah, can I comment? Yeah, I see that as a map onto which you can identify organizations. Based on what they do, you can even do a self-analysis of your organization and see where you fit. Are you an organization that focuses on people and also on production to what extent? Or are you an organization which is focused more on production and ignoring the people factor? In which case you would be more to the bottom of that scale. So the balance is doing both, focusing both on the people and the production. But really, in reality, organization fit somewhere in one of those boxes. And maybe once you analyze your organization, you can work towards improving towards that 9-9 position. So you can find maybe where you belong. You might not be at 9-9. You might be at 5. You might be at 1-1 or 9-1. So you can work towards reaching the optimum.
Okay. Reaching the optimum. She says it's a map. Again, just similar to the approach. I don't know that we have anybody who has something completely different from what has been said. Anyone with something completely different from what has been said? Okay. I want to clap for you. I like the way you have analyzed the grid. You're really on point. Okay. Even the person who said it's a linear, it's actually, I don't know, if you drew, you see there's the line with the concern for people and concern for production. Okay. If you drew a line from that low, you drew a line from low going up, you'd see where the linear relationship is coming from. Okay. So to saying that the organization will be somewhere along that line. So on one side, we have concern for people. The other side, we have concern for production. Okay. So you're saying that not just as organization, but even we as personal, as managers. Okay. As managers, we fall along that line in how we manage our conflict. Are we concerned about people? Are we concerned about production? Or are we able to give a balance? Because both matter, both are important. We have, remember, conflict, we said, is about two or more parties disagree. So whether we want it or not, when there is a conflict, people are involved. There are relations involved. So concern for people. There has to be that, because it's about people, it's about relations. We cannot always, I see Daniel, you raised your hand there. Say something, Daniel. Daniel? Hello? Daniel? Daniel's hand was up. He has disappeared. Okay. Okay. Daniel, feel free to speak to us when you're ready. So we're saying, so we're saying that as a manager, when you are dealing with conflict, the two important things is that because conflict has to do with people, it's about people. You cannot avoid worrying about the people, the concern for people. Okay, but because organizations exist to achieve certain goals, we must also be concerned for production. Okay, because there must be something that makes us exist. There's a goal to achieve their objectives too. So both are important. Okay, concern for people, concern for products. Both are important. So when you're dealing with conflicts, we must be able to balance the two. So what you're seeing in this grid is that some people, let's look at 1.1. What do you see here, 1.1? 1.1 is low on concern for people, and it is low on concern for production. Okay, so what that means is that this manager doesn't care about the people relations, doesn't care about production. Yeah, he's the one, maybe the avoidance kind of person. Doesn't care whether the relations break, and doesn't care whether really we achieve our objectives or not. Period. That's a 1-1. It's low on concern for people and low on concern for results. 9, let's go up. 1, 9. Then a person who is really concerned for people is high, but the concern for production is very low, which is a problem with this kind of a situation. The problem with this kind of a situation is that this person now overuse, the accommodation. I think, they are more worried about not losing friends, not losing colleagues. They are so concerned that these people who are really concerned about their relations. They don't want to be hated. I don't know that you've met such people. One time someone told me, if you want to be loved by people, don't be a manager, go and sell ice cream. Yeah, everybody loves the ice cream guy. It's good. You really conflict with the ice cream person. But as a manager, conflict is possible. We said conflict is inevitable and it is necessary. So concern for people is a kind of person who, these are the ones who avoid accommodate a lot, because for them, the most important thing here is the relations. I don't want to conflict with this person because now this person, there's a time I was in trouble, they were there for me, they helped me a lot. I don't want, as managers, I don't want to do performance appraisal for this particular person, because when I do performance appraisal for this person, we may conflict, and I don't want to conflict with them. We are very close. That you're not caring about achieving the objectives of the organization. You're more concerned about it. It's a problem we have. Yes, it's good to be concerned for people, but remember, an organization has to achieve its objectives. 9-1. Now is the other way. Task-oriented. This person has no care at all about people. It is task-oriented. Their objectives to be achieved, we achieve them. These are the people who don't care. These are the kind of managers you go to and you say, my child is sick. And they tell you, I didn't employ your child, I employed you. Huh? Then you don't know what to do. You don't know whether you don't know, you get confused. Because for them, it is the results that matter. These people, even in conflict management, now this is a competition. The competition, they win. Competition, they win-lose kind of strategy. Domineering, dominance, they come to solve a conflict with only one agenda. We solve this conflict as long as it as long as it does what? As long as it meets the needs of the organization. Even if you're going to hurt people on the way, it's okay. So be it. We hurt them, but we solve the problem and we achieve what we achieve for the organization. And then the 5-5. 5-5 have a bit of concern for people and a bit of concern for it's there. It's the compromising ones, the give and take. So they really never really solve the problem because there is a bit of everything. Yes, we'll care about the results, but not very much. We care about people, but not very much. These are people who are on the fence. They want to achieve results, and on the other side, they also want to continue pleasing people. So sometimes maintaining that balance can be tricky. Being on the fence is not very easy. And these leaders, you have them in your organizations. They are fence sitters. They never solve problems. You take a conflict to them, there's a way they go around it, and you leave the office not really feeling, they don't give the way forward. Yeah, if you go for a meeting, you finish the meeting, there's no way forward in that, okay? Then now, 9-9. 9-9, if you look here, the optimum style for reducing conflicts. Optimum, the best. Why? Because there is concern for people, there's concern for work. There's concern for people and there's concern for work. You're not only concerned about maintaining the relationships, but yes, you want to maintain the relationship, but you also want to achieve the objectives of the organization. You balance both. Key, very important. And this, I said yesterday and I said it again, is why we are in this class. Is why we are in this class. So that as managers, we don't lose relationships when we are solving conflicts, but at the same time, we don't lose the big picture of why we are there. We balance both. That is what the competence of conflict management is being at 9. And that's the reason why I was giving you the 5 minutes for you to internalize. If you're able to internalize Blake and Mouton's grid in relation to conflict management, if you can internalize this as an individual, as a manager, yourself, and carry this with you, then you will have really, for me, this summarizes like everything we are doing in this course. As a manager, am I able to manage conflict in my organization, in my team, in my group, as an individual, in a way that I don't lose out the relations between people and myself and the people, and the relation, I mean, the goal, the big picture of the organization, that balance. If you practice over and over and you find that you have that balance, then you become a really good manager. Okay, you become a really good manager in terms of how you handle conflicts. And remember, conflict involves people. Conflict is not about people are always, they're always there. I don't know, you can have conflict and there are no people. It's 2 or more parties. Is somebody, a human resource is involved and there's conflict. I don't know that you're seeing why I'm emphasizing on this. A human being somewhere, a human resource is involved. So we must be able to think about how in resolving these conflicts, we manage that human resource so that we don't destroy it in the process. But as we are thinking about this human resource, what about the big picture? The organization, its objective and goals. We also don't want to destroy that balance. We get that balance and you're good. We know that for sure we have become competent in as far as conflict management is concerned. Okay, I don't know that there's any question there. Any comment, any question? Any comment, any question there? I really want you to take this home with you. The Blake and Mouton grid in terms of conflict management, key, very key in conflict management. Okay, if you have any question, you can always come back, feel free. Now, game theory and conflict management. How many of us play chess? How many? Anyone here plays chess? Anyone? Just say yes. Anyone? Chess is a very interesting game. And normally in chess, you want to win, you want to get the king of the opponent. Yeah, you move all those other things that you move there. The knight, the queen, the pawns, the bishop, those are the various items that you use in in resolving in playing chess. When you are playing chess, the reason you have all those is because you want to win the king. It's just one reason. Okay, just one reason. Okay. So you want to get the king. You want to get the king. So win. It's about winning. That's what you call the game theory. Covey says that people we have the scarcity mentality versus the abundance mentality. There are some people who feel that things are scarce in this world. And so I must get what is there to myself. But there are people who feel there is something for everyone. So everybody can win. Okay. The chess game has a scarcity mentality. Really. I must win your king. You must win my king. There's no true way. Both of us can't be winners. Okay. The abundance mentality is both of us can be winners. Sorry. Both of us can be winners. We can both win. So the abundance mentality, what we're saying is that we can find a way to collaborate. Okay, we can find a way to collaborate. The abundance, we can all be winners. There is enough for everybody. So if you have what Covey says, the mentality abundance, it means even when you're conflicting, we don't go with the competitive chess-like mind. into the conflict situation. We go with the mentality that I can get what I want, but you can also get what you want. If you sit down, we can resolve this issue in a way that is beneficial to all of us. Okay. That's the abundance mentality, which is what we need to carry with us when we are going into a conflict management situation. The abundance mentality, not just a win-lose, okay? Not a win-lose, but where we all win, okay? Now, again, I want you to look at this. Today, I told you we are going to work together. Are you able to see something on the board? Are we together? Are we still together?
Yes, yes, Grace.
This one, I'll give you 3 minutes. 3, not 5. 3 minutes to tell me what is going on. I want you to look at this and tell me, what do you think is going on? In relation to everything we have discussed. This one, I actually discussed it somehow yesterday. So I'm going to give you 3 minutes to look through 3 minutes. It's now 10:37. So I'll be back at 10:40. I give you 3 minutes to tell me, yes?
Is it possible to increase the font of the lower boxes? Is it possible to increase the font? Thank you.
The lower.
Yeah,
Maybe I read through for you. I don't know. It's on my side. It's not. They may not be able to increase that. Which one are you not able to see? Maybe I can read for you. Where okay?
It's okay. Let me try to read. It's okay.
Okay, fine.
I'll try to manage.
Okay, fine. So I'll give you 3 minutes. We'll not disrupt you for those 3 minutes so that you see through. I want just you to put everything we have studied so far when you're looking at this. Everything we've studied so far. Okay, 3 minutes. Uh-huh. 3 minutes are over. Yes, they are. Can I hear anyone, anything? What do we have? What did we come up with? What's going on here?
It's talking about the different levels of conflict and how they can affect performance. So there are some conflicts which can actually really bring the performance down at work, and which should be the priority to be resolved. Ideally, low should be the one. Even low can become high. So it's a good idea to just deal with the conflict as it arises. That's what my comment is on this.
Okay, thank you very much. Yeah, the different types of conflicts and how their impacts. Okay, and she says towards the end, she says it is good that we deal with conflicts as it arises. Okay, anyone else? What did you see? What did you see from this image? What came into your mind? What was your interpretation of the image? What is the interpretation of the image? Anyone else? I hope you people didn't disappear.
Grace?
Yes.
And what I'm seeing is, I want to echo what my colleague have just said. I'm looking at the levels of conflict, and I'm looking at the unit performance outcome. And what is coming into my mind is what you said, that conflicts are not necessarily bad. Sometimes it's good to have these conflicts. Yes. And I'm looking at A, and it says the level of conflict is low or none. And on the other end, I'm looking at the performance saying it is low. Yes. And when I come to B, I'm seeing level of conflict is optimum, as in at a manageable level. And that conflict has to be functional conflict. Yes. And I'm seeing that it brings out the unit performance is high. Yes. Meaning the kind of conflict here is like healthy conflict that like that brings a challenging kind of situation at workplace, which brings out a high level of performance. So what I'm seeing here is that it is the conflict is not bad after all. Sometimes it brings out something that is positive. That's how I interpreted this diagram. Yeah.
Good. Let me see on the chat. Someone says, I note that conflict that is both low and high give low performance on optimum conflict, which is the good one, allow high performance. Exactly. That's what all of you, I think, I've seen it from that angle, which is good. You see, at A and at C. Okay, if I may pick from what we're saying, A is low conflict, C is high conflict. Both, if you look at it, high, low, A is low and unit performance is low. C, the conflict is high, the unit performance is low. Which is say that at point A, where conflict is low, then the performance is below. Because what you said yesterday, conflict is not necessarily, but actually, what this image is telling us is that a certain level of conflict is good. This certain level of conflict is point B. It's good. It is good to push some conflict into the organization because conflict makes people more creative, self-critical. It brings out, I said yesterday, it brings out, it brings out our underbelly. Yeah, someone says, yeah, so constructing conflict give high performance. Very true, okay? Yeah. Conflict is a certain level of conflict is good. Even remember, we even talked about intrapersonal conflict. You yourself by yourself. If you don't conflict with yourself, it means you're not thinking very much. Okay? It means you're not challenging yourself. You need to challenge yourself. So to get conflicting ideas and views, should I go this way? Should I go this way? Should I do it this way? Should I do it this way? Because there are many things going on in your mind. But if you're just there, you're in a comfort zone, there are no conflicts. It means you're not challenging yourself. So bring the same argument into the organization. If there's no conflict, it's in people are in a comfort zone. They are not really working. That means it can be seen in their performance. So conflict, there's a certain level of conflict that is good. That certain level is going to be the optimum. So let's see. Then how do we push? If we are at point A, the conflict is at point A. How do we push it to point so that we move to point? Sorry, I might have skipped something here. I want us to move to how we increase methods to reduce conflicts. Okay. So we can increase conflicts in the organization. We can increase conflict. We can move conflict from point from point A to this B. How? How can we move conflict from A to B? How can we create? Number one, it is always possible. I don't know. I kept saying yesterday, allow employees to participate in decision making. Allow employees to be part. Listen to their views. Okay. Bring respect into the organization. Let everybody know that their views are wanted. Recognize those different views. Because when people start bringing their views, there's always going to be a disagreement on the different views. Okay, so we can increase conflict. If you remember what I was saying, don't be the kind of a manager who wants everybody to comply with your ideas. Be the kind of manager who allows people to disagree with you. That is good. Okay, we can also bring conflict again into the organization. Sometimes it's just being the devil's advocate. Probably agreeing with that one person that other people don't want to agree with. Okay, why? Because it makes people want to think. That critical thinking, it makes people constructive thinking. Okay, allow teamwork in the organization. Don't allow people to work individually. Because when you work individually, then we are avoiding circumstances where we can conflict. But if people are working in teams, then it's easier to conflict. So try to use teamwork as against individual working, or let people work in teams. Okay, that really will help people these conflicts to come around, and let people create awareness that conflict is good. It's not necessarily bad. The culture of the organization. Create a culture of the organization that respects and appreciates conflict. Don't create a culture where conflict is avoided. Conflict is seen as bad. You stand before people and tell them, I don't want to hear any disagreements here. Don't create that fear. Let people know that in this organization, it's okay to be the only one saying no. It is okay to say, I don't agree with this perspective. Create that culture. Let there be freedom of speech. Give democracy. Create that culture. So the culture of the organization that you create will help us to move from point A to point B, so that people don't over-comply. Don't create a situation where you just want people to comply with everything that you say. Trust me, the performance is going to be very poor, because people become apathetic. People don't think. They actually let you think. They'll let you do all the thinking. Remember we said yesterday, you can't be the holder. You don't have, the only source of all information. You can't. If it doesn't matter even how well you are schooled, you can't be the sole source of knowledge. Allow other people. So creating such culture will help us increase conflict in the organization. Let's look at conflict as positive. But let's see how then can we reduce conflicts. Because we said before we come to the third part, I want us to look at the methods of reducing conflict. Why? Because I said C, we need to move from C to B, isn't it? I've discussed how we can move from A to B, but how do we move from C? Okay, so the different methods. Okay, sorry, I want us to look at how we can move. This is what I was looking for initially. I've already discussed that. Organizational culture, being the devil's advocate, Creating heterogeneous groups, I said that heterogeneous groups are groups that are not the same. They're not homogeneous, okay? Create groups, let people work in groups, okay? Why? These are the advantages of conflict. Because conflict, we've said, stimulates new facts or situations, enhances relationship, increases cohesiveness. Yeah, at the end of the conflict, yeah, when you are conflicted, we might feel that we might part ways. But at the end of this conflict, remember yesterday what we said, the aftermath, if the conflict is well handled, it actually can increase cohesiveness because we get to know each other better, okay? So the relationship and the cohesiveness, conflict is not necessarily bad. But why do we need to reduce conflict? Why do we need to reduce conflict? Why? It can be time consuming. Oh, every time you're having meetings to resolve conflicts, people are not talking to each other. So just getting something, just getting an idea from somebody takes so long. People are not allowing, other people into their spaces. So trying to solve conflicts can be very time consuming. It detracts from job, okay? So this reduces production. It keeps people apart if it's unresolved. Remember, we said conflict can really kill relationships, okay? And it can reduce team effectiveness. So that's the reason why, if you look at these two, the advantages of conflict is why we need to increase conflict to move from A to B. The disadvantages of conflict is the reason why we need to move conflict from C to A. The balance, this balance, we'll be talking about it. And that is what conflict management is all about, ensuring that we have the optimum, ensuring that we don't have, you remember the continuum I discussed in the morning. There's a continuum I discussed in the morning. We don't want to, earlier, of course, I'm saying the morning because it was earlier today. It's the continuum where we move from low to very high conflict that can destroy people. We don't want that. We have this B, the B section that combines the advantages and the disadvantages of conflict, the optimum part of it. Okay. This again, her culture. Remember when you're talking about the factors that influence conflicts? We may have missed to talk about culture, but here we're looking at the different, where we come from, our ethnic backgrounds, okay? Yeah, here, I have highlighted like the Hispanic, the Asians in the United States, the Africans, but even before we look at it globally, we just look at it here, even just in Kenya here, our culture influences how we look at conflicts. Our culture influences because it depends really on our upbringing, because culture is the way of life of people. I just want to pick, for example, the United States. Here we say the United States. They emphasize, this whole aspect of capitalism. It arises from the United States, the West in particular, capitalism. A man for himself and God for us all. So the emphasis on individualism. So that emphasis, that cultural background that you fight for yourself. So even when it comes to conflict management, really competition becomes key. Okay, but in our African upbringing, really, it's now that you're picking capitalism really much. But African culture, really, we are very collaborative in terms of how we manage conflict. Why? Because remember, everything in the society belonged to everybody. Land belonged to the clan. We're not very individualistic. We shared. We know the values of African sharing, giving. Because of such values, we were not really very much competitive, but very collaborative. But now we are picking on the Western, so this competition is becoming very common nowadays. We've discussed these ones we've discussed. I think we discussed communication, and now I want to look at the tips. Let me look a bit on communication is very key. Let me pay this attention to this a little bit more. I beg to go back here on communication. Why? Because you remember that we said that conflict is expressed disagreement. How is it expressed? Either verbally or non-verbally. Remember I said that yesterday. Verbally or non-verbally. Communication is also verbal and non-verbal, isn't it? Okay. Yeah. Communication is also verbal or non-verbal. And so communication is very key when it comes to how we manage conflict. It can be constructive. It can be destructive. Constructive means building up. Okay. So when we are managing conflict, I said again, I think I mentioned this yesterday, it is not what, sometimes it's not what we say, but how we say it. It is not what we say, but how we say it. And that is communication aspects. How do we say it? Sometimes you want to tell somebody, just you're the leader, you're the HR manager in your organization. And there's an employee and whose performance is not very satisfactory. How do you tell this employee? How do you tell the employee that your performance is not good? We always say in HR, you don't emphasize, don't focus on the person, you focus on the problem. Our focus is on the problem, not the person. So don't become personal. Don't start telling somebody you, even where you come from, people like you are just, we've seen how people, your tribe, how people behave. If you start saying that, you're becoming personal, you're attacking the person, not attacking the problem. And that has to do with communication. How are you saying it? How are you bringing out the issue at the table? So when you talk about constructive communication, the features of constructive communication, one, validation of each other. First and foremost, I don't look at you as a less person, lesser in terms of what is my concept of you. I look at you as an equal person. I look at you as an important person. That without you, you remember the concern for people and concern for tasks, or the concern for the results. I look at you and say, you are a human resource who is very important in this organization and in achieving this task. So my validation, I look at you as an important person, as an equal, first and foremost, okay? Number two, sensitive listening. How do we listen? Sensitive, being empathetic when you're listening to this person. When somebody is raising an issue and saying, I'm not okay with the way things are going on, I'm not okay with the fact that you are always doing this and doing this, can you be sensitive to their words? Be empathetic. Okay, be empathetic. Put yourself in their shoes and see, why is it that they are bringing this up? What could be wrong? Are they being genuine? Is it? I mean, there must be something hurting them for them to get to a point of, of this becoming a conflict. Yeah, the perspective, the dual perspective. From what angle are we looking at this problem? Am I able to see this problem from your point of view, not just my point of view? Okay, recognize each other's concerns. That's what I say, being empathetic. Seek clarification, because sometimes we escalate conflicts because we don't understand. Okay, you don't take time. Somebody said something. You don't take time to ask, what did you mean? What exactly? What was? I want to hear what you meant from you when you said this. Okay, seek clarification. Why did you do this way? Why John should go to Rosie and want to find out, clarify. Why do you think it's okay for you to talk to my employees, this team, give them duties directly? Why? Do you have something that I'm not seeing? Yeah, I've said focus on the issues, not the person. Okay, yeah, the compromises. Yeah, try to see where this person is coming from in the communication. Don't be the only one communicating. Give and take in the communication. Listen. Okay, listen. Even after you have spoken, allow the other person. Give and take. There has to be a give and take in the communication. It can be a monologue. You can't solve a problem through monologue. You can't just be the one talking. The other person also has to be given a chance to talk. Okay? And then the meta communication and the summarizing, like at the end of it all, have an agreement. Okay, we have talked. We have agreed. Okay, I have listened to you, listened to me. This is the issue. We think this is the way forward. So this is what we are saying. This is the way forward. We both must leave that table in agreement. You can't resolve a problem when you walk away and you say, okay, whatever you decide, you have to have, and then you have to agree on the way forward together. That is a constructive communication. Let's look at the destructive communication. The destructive one, sorry. The destructive communication, if you look at the bottom here, this one up here we have discussed. Look at the bottom on your right at the bottom there. This confirmation of each other, which is the opposite of validation. Okay, I think you're powerless. Who are you? Okay, who are listening? Who are listening? You don't care. You're just talking. The monologue I'm talking about. Preoccupation is about you. I, not we. You're not talking about I, myself. You know, you want things your way. Because complaining means when this person complains, instead of listening to what they are saying, you also complain. Basically, every complaint from the other person is also faced with a complaint on your side. You will not move anywhere. Then hostile reading is really about how our interpretations, our assimilation of what the other person is saying, the concept, the perception of the other person. Somebody said this earlier on. You come to solve a conflict and you already think this person doesn't like me. So you already set in your mind. So you come when you're already hostile. You know, you come there when you're already with insults. Okay. Then excessive. Okay. Then let's talk about the everything is running. I mean, everything is running means, you know, there are people who, when they begin complaining, they will even take you back 20 years ago to something you already resolved. They say, you remember even the other time you said this and this and that, and you'll be like, but I thought we resolved that. Yes, we resolved it, but it's the same thing. Okay, so they're throwing in, they're bringing, there are people who will even tell you. I remember in one time in a place I worked, there was this employee. She had lost her husband, and every time you got into an argument with her or even work related, she began saying, you know, you people are not, you don't love me, you don't care about me, you don't even realize that I am a widow, you need to be more caring. And should use that, should do that, and should really bring it in over and over. And the problem was that when it made her emotional, so it made everything emotional. So solving issues became very difficult. So the destructive, when you're bringing in everything, even personal things into this conflict, becomes really hard to solve the conflict. So that's what you're saying: constructive communication versus destructive communication. If we must solve conflicts, if we must be good managers, then we must really exercise the constructive communication. As you know, these are things you practice at the individual level. Even before you go telling your employees about constructive and destructive, it must begin with you. This is at your personal level. You must learn to listen. You must learn not to be personal in solving issues. You must learn to ask and clarify. You must learn to cool down when you're solving issues in the organization. You must learn not to summarize and say, okay, fine, so what are we saying? What is the way forward? These are things we must challenge ourselves. At the end of this course, go back, ask yourself, do I solve how do I handle conflict? Is it constructive communication or destructive? Am I constructive in the way? Which skills do I have? Pick the right skills, practice them over time. Before you know it, you'll really be good in conflict management. Okay. So these are some of the tips on effective communication during conflicts. Just what you're saying here, focus on the overall communication system. The overall, okay? Yeah, I'll not discuss each one of them, I'll pick some of them, but focus on the overall communication system from how you begin, you know, the communication, and avoid, as a manager, avoid gossip. These kills, you cannot solve conflicts if once there's a conflict, before even you begin communication, there's already grapevine going round, and it began from you. I remember even yesterday I said, as human resource managers, we must, or even basically as managers, we must learn there must be some sort of secrecy. We must be confidential. People must have that trust. But if you're the kind of a person that, when you disagree with one person on this corner of the organization, everybody else in the organization knows, then it will be very hard for you to really resolve conflicts in the organization. Okay, be flexible. What does this mean? Be flexible. Don't be the kind of person who says it's my way or no other way. Learn to listen to other people's views. Okay, aim for a win-win result. We said that. Grant forgiveness. It's good. Show grace. Grace when appropriate, not always. When appropriate, show grace. Be kind. Remember the grid. There has to be concern for people and concern for results. Yeah. So somehow you also have to be concerned about people. Yeah. Yeah. When you say grant forgiveness, but then sometimes conflict can be said, it can really destroy relationships. But if somebody is able, and sometimes we become emotional and become personal. But at the point where somebody says, I'm sorry, I realize I was wrong. That's the point you're saying, be concerned for people. We are human beings, we have feelings. By the time I'm coming to you and I say I am sorry, it really means I have thought about it, I've reflected. And then honor yourself. Yes, don't be the kind of person who is always throwing tantrums. Okay? Honor yourself. I mean, how you carry yourself around when resolving conflicts matters on how people look at you afterwards. Okay? Sometimes you might get into the heat of the moment and you resolve conflicts with a lot of anger that it actually destroys you. It destroys your reputation. Okay, so even that's what you were saying, remember avoidance. I said in some circumstances, using avoidance, putting your head under the shell is okay to avoid embarrassments and your reputation also. So sometimes it's important also knowing who you're dealing with. Cover yourself, let people cool down, then you can come later and resolve the issue. Honor yourself. You, after the conflict, you will still exist. Okay, so you need to exist and maintain your reputation. Okay, so tips for managing workplace conflicts. These tips that we can carry with us. Build good relationships before conflicts occur. Somebody said somewhere today that sometimes the reason why we don't, some factors that may influence how we solve conflict is we may not even like this person in the first place. So when the conflict occurs, really it was just a time bomb, okay? So let's build our relationships with people in the organization. The human beings, and human beings are social beings. It is in our what do you call it? Genes, eh? It is in our genes. That's how we are built. That's how we are created. So be the kind of a person. Of course, this is a whole other level of it's a whole other course. Okay, it's a whole other course on personal relationships. Okay, so work on it. Work on your personal relationships. How you listen to people, how you talk to people, how you treat people. If there is a welfare in your organization, don't be the kind of a person who avoids this welfare because you imagine that you will not have problems. People will be like looking at you, and the kind of people quietly just think about you don't contribute. You're not part of the organization to build a relationship. Do not let small problems. Yes, is someone saying something? Okay. Do not let small problems escalate. Deal with them as they arise. Perfect. Okay, if at individual level, at organizational level, don't let small, remember, that's what we were saying. Even when you use avoidance in the right way, always come back to resolve the issue. I said you can use avoidance to cool down. But even when you use avoidance to cool down, please come back to resolve that issue. Don't let it go, because it is like a crack on the wall. What we say in Kiswahili, yeah? If you don't really repair that crack, you will end up building the whole house. Okay, so repair the cracks. Respect differences. Okay, basically, let's just emphasize on respect. Respect your juniors, respect your seniors, respect yourself. Yeah, with respect, we enhance respect, becomes very easy to manage. Listen to others' perspectives on conflict situations. Always know that I keep saying this: you're not the source of all knowledge. So other people have views, allow those views. Acknowledge feelings before focusing on facts. Okay, acknowledge feelings. What does this mean? Somebody has come to you and says, "I don't like this." Yeah, says Daniel, I am not comfortable with the way you are. You're my leader, but I don't like the way you talk to me. You're always forcing things. Before you go into but you're not performing, but this person has said something. This person is not okay. I'm not happy. Deal with that first. Deal with those feelings first. Then focus on solving problems, not changing people. Yeah. Solving the problem. Why are we saying not changing people? Because sometimes it's not really in our ability to change people. But in solving this problem, people have time to go and reflect. and work on themselves. But we can change ourselves. Okay, we always say be the change you want. When you change yourself, you could really be changing other people indirectly. People will see how you handle issues, they can reflect on it, they can work on it. If you can't resolve the problem, find someone who can help. The third party. Okay, remember the mediators, the conciliators, the arbiters we talked about yesterday. Even within the organization, there's never just one person. Even in the hierarchy, okay, in hierarchy of the organization, there's always one supervisor and another supervisor you can go to. Sometimes you don't even have to go to the hierarchy, okay, to just look for a friend, okay? But it has to be, even if it's informal, it has to be in the right way. So it's not gossip. You have to be very careful here when you're bringing in another person into the conflict. You're bringing in another person to resolve the issue, not to escalate the problem, okay? Then remember to adapt to the situation and persons involved. I mean, remember to, I said this, empathize, understand the feelings of the other person, empathize, put yourself in their shoe, try to feel them, be with them, walk with them, whatever situation they're going through. Okay, now I want to give you, we have a few minutes. In these few minutes remaining, I want us to look at this, let me call it what? Just some task. Just a task here. I want us to work together and resolve this issue. And then I'll give you a chance to ask any questions and give comments before we wind up. So let me read it out. David Blake works as a sales manager in Helium Inc. or Incorporation. David is in constant conflict with his boss. The boss is called John Sutherland, over the working of his team. David wants his team to build rapport with the customers and also ensure customer satisfaction, whereas John is only bothered about sales figures. I don't know that we are together up to that point. So John is a high-handed boss and does not want to listen to any of David's reasons or explanations. Okay, so we have David, and David's boss is called John Sutherland. Okay, David, you can say, has concern for people. Okay, he says he wants his team to be able to build some rapport with the customers. Okay, so for David, building rapport with customers is very important, but for John, just wants figures, just wants to hear sales are increasing. How are they increasing? He's not bothered. Okay, so the question is, which conflict management style would suit David's situation? Okay, number one. Let's deal with number one first. Which conflict management style would suit David's situation? And I want to add there, why? So let me hear. Which conflict management style would suit David's situation and why? Why do you think that style would suit David's situation? Let's work. Let's think. Let's think together. Let's think together. I want to hear people say something. Which conflict management style would suit David's situation? Do we understand the situation? Hello.
I think collaborative.
Why?
Because the boss, John wants our sales to go up, and David wants to build relationships. So it's a compromise. I mean, is it compromise or a collaboration? It's compromise.
Compromise.
Yeah. So that they come in between. You will build relations as well as while the sales figures will also improve.
So compromise. So I think David compromise?
Yeah, compromise.
Will John be willing to, because compromise means also John has to give in to something. That's challenging your a bit there. But let's continue hearing. One, we have had compromise. Compromise means David gives something and John gives something. So they meet at the middle. Yes. And remember, John is a high-handed boss. Does not want to listen to any of David's reasons or explanations. Let's hear another one. Please let's be together so that we finish together. This really is your assignment. I want to hear from you. Yes? Collaboration. This is Achiro says collaboration so as to maintain customer and manage sales. Collaboration. Achiro, what are we going to do with John, who is a high-handed boss? How do we make him collaborate? He does not want to listen to any of David's reasons. Yeah? How do we make him collaborate? Huh? How? I want you to think about that. Let's hear from someone else.
Chris, I will go for compromise.
Compromise?
Yeah, I'll go for compromise, and where I will be expecting John to tone down, although he is high-handed. But we are seeing if John tones down to like an optimum place and try to listen to David, we will be working at results, and at the same time, we are seeing David is interested in building rapport with the customers and also ensuring that customer satisfaction is met. So when the rapport is built and customer satisfaction is attained, and the other hand, if John agrees to tone down and focus on results at a manageable level, we are seeing it's kind of a win-win situation.
Okay.
But what I'm not so sure is whether this John is willing to tone down, but compromise would have been a better option for me here.
So that they're able to meet somewhere.
Yeah, they meet somewhere. Because both of them have good strengths.
Yeah, both of them have points, not the same.
Yes, yes.
What can David do to bring John to the table then? Let me just combine with number 2 a bit in a different way. Okay, fine. Because what we are finding here, if you are to use compromise, it means we need John to cooperate. If you're to use collaboration, it means we need John to cooperate, isn't it? We need his cooperation in either collaboration or in compromise. The only styles that we may not need his cooperation is avoidance, because that means we give up. Accommodating means we let him win, isn't it? Competition means David forces his issue. So compromise and collaboration. But how do we make John, what do we do? How do we bring John to the discussion table? How do we bring him to this table so that whether he compromises or collaborates, how do we bring him to the table? How can David resolve his conflict with this boss? Because maybe if you are to compromise or to collaborate, we need John, yes?
Yeah, sorry. Maybe I'll say like, okay, David have to put all his points on the line. Like for instance, if the customer is satisfied, the sales figure, you have to give the scenario, like if the customer is satisfied with this product or whatever they're selling, the sales of course will be high. They have to put his points on the table to show like, oh, okay, where what the connection you have with the customer satisfaction with the sales.
Yes, bring the
probably now
to the table.
if so if John sees like his objective was also met, he can be able to compromise or maybe collaborate. I don't know. Yeah, he can be able
but you have to make him listen. Remember, he's a high-handed boss and does not want to listen. Okay.
So at least maybe with the graphs you can be able to you show the graphs and the satisfaction is high, the sales are high. So I think try to explain in any way.
Good. Daniel, I see your hand is up. Daniel? Daniel Moasa? Daniel? Okay, I don't know, his hand is up, but I think he's not. Any other person? Anyone else? What do you think? How do we make John come to the table? I like the answers that I'm getting. Because these are real scenarios in our organizations. You are the HR manager. You appreciate human resources. You know the role of human resources in the organization. You know for sure that if our employees are satisfied, if they're happy, they will perform well. Okay? But your boss is only concerned with facts. He just wants results. Has no concern for people. He's not willing to listen. And you're trying to tell him, really, if we let's even as much as you're pushing the employees to perform, we also have to ensure that they're working in good working conditions. We need to look at their welfare. We need to look at, okay, together. So you're trying to balance. So you find this is a normal situation for us in HR. This is something that we actually would find ourselves in. And I know many HR managers and HR officers will find themselves in this situation. You understand the employees, you understand that they need to work in good working conditions, but your boss just wants figures. He wants to see performance going up, doesn't really matter how. So I will not give a final answer to this. I will not say this is it. I want that conversation to continue in our minds and between us on how then do we deal with a boss like John, based on everything we have discussed in this course, including the communication skills, okay? Including the communication skills, all those tips, including, the tips that towards the end, we discussed the different tips on how we can manage conflict. So that when we find ourselves in this situation, then we don't really run for the avoidance. Yeah, someone says, yeah, use these communication skills to give benefits of his model, yeah? So putting together everything we studied from the very beginning, I want us to go home with this in our mind. I want us to go home with this case study thinking, if I found myself in David's situation, how would I handle this based on the knowledge and the skills that I've gained in this course? How would I handle it? If I was David, I want you now to put your name where you're saying David, put your name there. And then answer that question with the answers would be everything we have actually discussed in this course. All the knowledge and skills that you've gained, putting all that together makes you understand how we can deal, and not just with our bosses, but with ourselves and also with other employees in the organization. Now I am opening the floor for any questions. Any questions? We have finished our course on strategic conflict management. We started yesterday, we did 3 hours yesterday, we've done 3 hours today. Wherever you are, you can clap for yourself. I think you've done very well. Thank you for the participation. I really appreciate. Now let me hear questions. Yeah, someone said David should acknowledge feelings of John, focus on the problem without trying to change John. I like the way you're applying the knowledge that you have learned. That's what I want to see. Continue applying the knowledge and the skills you've gained so far in looking for a solution to this problem, and put yourself in that situation actually. Okay? Let me hear any questions, comments? Any questions, any comments?
Grace?
Yes?
Mine is maybe a comment, just to appreciate your presentation.
Thank you.
I would say the 2 days presentation, well thought through, very rich and professional. Thank you very much. And I would say we are living today having a kind of a roadmap or a blueprint to conflict management in our respective offices and positions, which will be very helpful for us. And I think my key takeaway is as HR practitioners, it is critical that we mitigate conflicts at the lowest level if we are to achieve the highest productivity or results at our workplaces. So that is exactly what we are going out to do. just try to solve the problems or the conflicts as before even they occur. So that means we have to be vigilant and alert and be sensitive listeners to our teams, so that we are able to pick the issues even before they like explode, kind of. Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you, Grace.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much also for your participation. I like your take home: strategic conflict management, being able to solve conflicts not just when they happen, but even before they happen. Okay, someone else, anyone else, feel free, question, comments. What is your take home?
Maybe I can comment again.
Yes, Alisa.
Yeah, I want to say thank you very much. I think I need that boss needs to go for some leadership training, that John.
Yes.
Thank you very much for everything I've gained a lot. I've done some mediation training, but now this is a broad spectrum. And it has also clarified some issues even in mediation. Thank you very much, Malim.
Thank you. Okay. Good. You can take back the knowledge from this course to mediation. Of course, mediation is a lot on conflict management, so there's a lot to take from this course. Good. One more person, or do we call it a day? Where are the gentlemen? Yeah, where are the gentlemen in class? Yeah, Daniel.
Yeah, we are here, Daktari. I want probably on behalf of the gentleman to appreciate the delivery of the course. It was very, very smooth, very eloquent. You are going at our pace. I've actually learned a lot. It's one of the courses that I was actually listening from the road, just that I was not able to respond verbally. I was being text, but I'm very enlightened. Thank you very much. Very useful course.
Thank you, Daniel. Thank you very much for your participation.
It's Njoroge, Michael.
Oh, sorry. Okay, Njoroge, sorry. I don't know, Daniel came on my side. Okay, no problem. Okay, Njoroge, thank you very much. Okay,
thank you.
Somebody on the chat says what? Rosalind says, have learned a lot. Thank you so much, Grace, for this session. Very informative. Thank you for the presentation. Thank you too. Thank you very much. I love your participation. I like when I have a class where I give you something to do, and when I come back, somehow you have, you talk back to me. I love that. I've enjoyed being with you. Let's meet again. I think another time. Let's continue with the conversation. Okay. Yeah, Daniel says it was not audible, but we could tell you really wanted to participate, Daniel. Thank you. Thank you very much. So do we call it a morning?
Yes.
We call it a morning, yeah? I wish you well in whatever else you're going to do. Those who are traveling, wherever you may be traveling, journey masses. We meet again. Bye-bye. Mr. Den, I think you're still in. You could say something to us. Karibu.
Hi, good. This is good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Thanks, Mwalim, for taking us through this very interesting topic on conflict management at our workplaces. Now, I was engaging the participants on an online chat. I've indicated that one is able to get their certificate and the notes for these particular presentations on our e-learning portal, that is achlp.org. Now, in case one has a challenge, I've indicated my number there. Chat me up and then I'll be able to sort you out. So without diluting what the trainer has said, I want to wish each and everyone a very brilliant day ahead. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan.